Yo, here are 20 key commands that will revolutionize your workflow in Logic Pro. I'm gonna show you right now. Okay, so I have totally heard your comments. Kirk, the music is too loud. There's way too much music in this. I love this video, but there's too much music in this. I did a video last year that ran through some workflow hacks and some tips for Logic Pro, and I heard you. This video will be better. Let's go. Okay, so first key command that I want you to know is Z. So basically Z, for example, like say I have this right here and I have this project and I want to zoom in and just kind of have my whole project and see it a little bit bigger. All you got to do is hit the Z key and it will zoom in and fit your project to your window. So even if I remove this, I can just hit Z and it'll do it again. There we go. Zoom fits in. Now I see everything. Now here's another one that's really cool that is also a zoom kind of thing. If you hold down Command and use your arrows, you'll be able to zoom in. So as you can see, I'm using right, left, and then you can even zoom in up and down as well, which is a really cool way to do that. So if I hit Z again, it'll zoom it back into that. Conversely, you can actually also use all these, but we're talking about key commands here. Here's another thing I like to do. I use this all the time to kind of zoom into tracks as well as Control and Option, and then your magnifying glass will pop up and you can kind of select whatever you want to zoom into. So let's just hit Z again to get back into here. You can also pull up that zoom tool here, but it's an easy way to activate it. Okay, now here's a really good one that will help you in your editing as well. It's actually Command T, and Command T will split your region by the playhead. So if you do Command T, so for example, if I hit Z and zoom into that, and then I hit Command T, that will split it at the playhead. So wherever I put this playhead, it will split. Doesn't really matter where I put it, it'll split wherever this thing is at. Now another thing you can do is use the arrow keys here to kind of jump to bars as well. All right, so editing, right? So here's another way you can do this. If you have your secondary tool as the Marquee tool, you can hold down Command and you could just kind of select on the bar as well, and then select and click, and that will separate the track. So this is really good for like sampling and stuff if you're trying to sample things and you want to cut things out, or if you need to cut a certain vocal take or something like that, and that will be really helpful. So one thing to know too is if you are trying to cut things, you want to make sure you always put fades on. Here's a really cool way to do fades. Say for example, let's go back to this, right? So let's say we cut this like this, and we want to fade it, right? Or we do a bunch of cuts, right? You know what I mean? I'm just going to do a bunch of these right here and just kind of cut them, but they can easily have pops and clicks. So if we take a listen, you'll probably hear a pop. You hear the pops. So what we want to do, if we want to add a fade, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can go into your tool here, pull up your fade tool, your secondary tool, and make that your fade tool, and then you can hold down Command and do the whole thing. Or this way I really like to do it is I'll select all the things that need a fade, and then I'll go to this eye right here, the inspector, and then there is a drop down menu for more here, and then I just kind of like move the fade in, fade out just up a little bit, and you can even change the curve if you want to. Usually when it's audio edits like this, it's not necessary, but like if you want to get really granular, you can. So now you can't really hear that example because it's a full drum loop and though we didn't cut and chop and stuff, but you can actually hear what it sounds like here on this sample that I chopped up here. Editing trick that you can do, if you hold down Shift and Option and you select your audio file or whatever file you're working with and you use the arrow keys, you can actually trim and lengthen however long the audio file is. You can trim and lengthen that. So if I wanted to just kind of like trim it, that's just kind of where it's gone. Another thing you can do is hold down Option and just hold down Option and hit the arrow key and you'll move on the beat here. So if you're trying to like, move things really fast, you can like do that too. That's like a really quick way to move things around really quick. Okay, so here's another key command that will help you out in your audio editing. And it is this one right here. It's Command J, and Command J basically will take all of these. For example, let's take these right here that we've cut apart, and if you hit Command J, it will bring up this window. You hit create, and it creates a combined region that is now combined with your edits and all that stuff. Sometimes I don't like to use it, sometimes I do like to use it. So the next thing is, like, if you're working with audio or if you're working with MIDI and you want to make sure that you quantize things and get things on the grid, there's a really cool key command that you can do just by hitting Q And basically what that does is quantize everything to whatever you put here in the inspector window. So right now we have this quantize is at 1/16. If I changed it to 1/4, it would do on 1/4 and all of that stuff. But basically Q is what quantizes it. So you can do that for MIDI, and you can also do that for audio as well. And as you can see, when I hit Q, it turned on the flex mode for audio. So just keep that in mind. Okay, here's another cool one that if you wanted to change the key or the note of things, or just pitch things up and down really quickly, you can actually select your audio file. Now this really works with audio, but also does work on the MIDI as well. So if you select the region and you go up, you hold down Option and then the up arrow, that will pitch things up. And then down is also pitching things down. You can go up. So it's a really easy way to pitch things up and down so that you can change the key if you need to. So that's Option and up arrow or down arrow to change that. Very cool. So another thing you can do is like show up a whole nother layer of your session here by just hitting the A key. And what that does is bring up all of your automation lanes. So if you have like plugins on things, it'll bring up all those plugins as well. Let's just see, this one has a couple of plugins. So see, it has my Pro Q3, it has all that. And so anything that is automatable, you'll be able to automate, which is pretty much everything in plugins these days. So A brings up that automation window or automation view for your session. So say you're mixing and you want to bring something back to 0 or back to unity, you can pull it up by doing this. So like, let's say I go into the fader here. I'll click on this fader and bring it back to 0. So if I want to just automatically go back to 0, you hold down Option and you click on it, and it'll go back to 0. Okay, here are some rapid fire, really quick ones you need to know. Obviously, big one is Command S. That is to save your project file. If I'm in my project, I hit Command S, and that will save it, and you don't have to worry about it. Always use Command S as often and as frequently as you can. That will just save. And then also another one is Shift Command S, and that one you will be able to save your project as. So say you wanted to save a different version of it, you can rename it and save it a different version, and that will save to where you have your project file. So Shift Command S brings up the save window, save as window, and you can select whatever you want to save, and then you can name it something like V2, so you're not destroying your mix or it's destroying the other one before. And if we hit Command S, Command Shift S, you'll see that there's two versions here, and we have the old version and the new version, and we are looking at the V2. So you can use Command Shift S to save different versions of your project file so that you don't lose progress, or if you want to go back to a different version, it's a great way to do that and keep those settings. That's really good for if you have like an older mix and somebody wants to bring up, mix 1 or something like that, you could save it like that. Okay, here's another really cool one that will help you duplicate your tracks really quickly. So you can select whatever track you have selected here, you can hit Command D, and that will duplicate whatever track that is there. It'll duplicate it as that, and then it also even pulls over some of the mixing that you have on that. Duplicating your tracks makes you really quick. So if you wanted to change your key commands, here's a really cool one, Option K. It'll bring up all the key commands here, and you can change them to whatever you want. And however you want to set it up, you can do that as well. One that I didn't tell you is actually like record. So if you select a track that has an input, like this one doesn't have one, but it'll start recording if you hit R, it'll start recording as long as there's an input there. This works great for MIDI. This works great for all these tracks and anything that you're trying to record with audio as well. So these are just a few of these key commands that will help you out as a music producer to be quicker in your workflow. And I just want you to be encouraged that it just takes time. You just got to do this repetition. You have to just work on this as much as you possibly can, and just use these key commands as much as you can. And you'll find yourself being very quick, very efficient in your producing and in your writing and mixing, whatever you're doing. And I hope that really helped. And if you haven't already and you made it this far, comment your favorite key commands or some key commands I might have left out, and hit the bell notification and subscribe so that you get notified when I put videos out just like this. Catch you in the next video. Peace.